So I lied a little bit when I said that there wasn't going to be a Pistons-related video after the Drummond trade. I'm not directly talking about their return, so maybe I didn't actually lie, but we're talking about the Pistons now because they're actually rebuilding. They have accepted it. It kind of was forced upon them, but I think we can view it as a good thing at the end of the day. And, as far as the Drummond return, his value was really low, and they basically just got out of his money. And you know what? Cool. I'll take it. Because not only does it just get him out of there, but I feel like it also just kind of moves the whole franchise and culture on to the next era. And the next era could be alright. I think you got to start with Christian Wood, who is effectively Drummond's replacement in a way. He's played over 30 minutes a game in the last 4, and he was having moments even before Drummond got traded. I may end up doing a whole video on Christian Wood at some point. We'll see what happens with the league in the next couple of whatever weeks, and also how good Christian Wood is. But the things to notice about Wood are, number one, he can shoot. At least it seems like he can. I mean, his last 2 games, he's 6 for 13 from 3, and he's had like 2 to 3 3-point attempts basically every game for a while now, and he's had just enough makes from out there, and when you look at his form and everything, and he hasn't had any like horrendously bad shooting nights. I mean, there's like some 0 for 1s, 0 for 2s from 3, but those are pretty normal, right? So that's intriguing. I mean, Drummond, of course, wasn't doing that at all. Funny enough, he made 2 threes with the Cavs. But, if Christian Wood's going to be able to space out the floor for the Pistons at the 5 spot, potentially the 4 spot, he is 6'10", and he's listed at power forward for whatever it's worth. And he has also played some minutes with Thonmaker, so he hasn't been the lone big man out there all the time, but whatever position Christian Wood ends up playing, I think he's the first one you're looking at, even before not Langston Galloway, we're not talking about him, Luke Kennard. I would look at Christian Wood before even Luke Kennard, because I think Wood just has got something, and he's on a very cheap deal of $1.6 million. Now, he is going to hit unrestricted free agency. I think he is a must re-sign for the Pistons, because I don't think there's a way in which they're going to attract a free agent that is as good as he is. And I also don't think he's going to cost that much, partially because there's not a lot of cap space going around, but also it's still really early in this guy's career, so I wouldn't picture him being offered something crazy from another team. I should say with Wood, not only is it the shooting, but he's also like a really good roller, and he plays really hard, and I might have mentioned that already, but him to me is the most important thing. Next, we do look at Luke Kennard, and funny enough, I used to be a little more on the Luke Kennard train until he started averaging 16 a game, and now I've like kind of tapered off a little bit. Maybe because it took 3 years to get here, I don't know. I think he's good, I just don't know if he can take that next step to being like a 20 points a game guy, but even if he just caps out at 17, 18, maybe even low 20s, then that's still pretty good. I mean, unfortunately, he's been out for a while now, so there's a chance that he was going to keep getting better this year. I mean, he's only played 28 games, so for what that's worth. But to me, for Luke Kennard to be like a big-time scorer, he either has to make more strides with his handle, or he's got to get to shooting a lot of threes. I'm talking like 10 threes a game, and I just don't know if he's, one, got the dribble for that, because I don't know if you're going to be able to shoot that many threes just on catch and shoots unless you're like Klay Thompson. And 2, I don't know if he has the mentality to do that, but I don't know. Unfortunately, we just haven't been able to see him enough, so maybe he already would have been doing it. So, but he's good, no doubt. And with Kennard, they've got him for a few more years before he even hits restricted free agency. Well, I should say they've got him for at least after next season before he hits restricted. And even then, I assume he's not going to get like an obscene amount of money on the open market. So to me, that's kind of the heart of it, those two. And then Sekou Doumbouya is interesting. And then after that, it's a whole bunch of whatever. I mean, I think you let Reggie Jackson go. Brandon Knight's, of course, going to walk. I think Tony Snell is a nice guy to hang around, but I think you could also use him as a trade chip next season. I mean, he's going to be, a good 3-and-D guy on an expiring contract, making $12 million. So depending on how next season goes for the Pistons, he could be someone they could move. I think they should hold on to Derrick Rose past this offseason because he can just be a nice placeholder for you at point guard. So, I mean, you're looking at Derrick Rose, Kennard, Christian Wood, Doumbouya, and then Blake is still kind of a wait and see. I mean, I'm pretty sure he's out for this season, and in a lot of ways, I think last year was just kind of a once in a, not career, but maybe once in a 5-year thing for Blake where he was actually healthy all season. So I think this is going to continue where he's just going to miss a lot of time. It's unfortunate because if he never got hurt, he'd be probably like a perennial top 10 guy. And maybe they can get something for Blake. I mean, his contract is still not going to be good next season because it's going to be 2 years, but maybe there's some team that has someone on a longer contract that they'd be willing to take off, but then why would you want that guy if he's in a longer deal? So, I don't know. If Blake Griffin ends up getting moved before he's expiring for the Pistons, I will be surprised. Although maybe it could be next deadline, because then it'd be effectively 1.5 years. All of this is assuming he accepts his player option, which I think is definitely going to happen given his injury stuff. As far as other things with this team, I mean, Svi McCulloch can make shots. Bruce Brown has had a decent amount of NBA minutes and could be okay. So that's the personnel for us. It's cool. It's not like they have a definite star, but they definitely have some nice pieces. If I had to pick one guy to come out of that bunch again, I think it would be Christian Wood. If we look at their just salary and draft picks and all that for the next upcoming seasons, again, I think Detroit, they're kind of at this moment right now where they could just be like, all right, we're not that good, rebuild all the way through. I mean, they will do that for the rest of this season, but, well, even then, they're not going to, lose games on purpose. Maybe they'd lose the last, 4 games of the year on purpose or something, but I think it's more about moving forward. And does that mean they max out on, or maybe not max out, but they give a lot of money to random free agent who doesn't really move the needle for them? Or are they just going to be like, you know what, let's re-sign some of our young dudes that we like, and maybe they'd even consider taking on salary if it meant that they could get an extra draft pick or two. Like what the Nets did with Damari Carroll, and there have been other examples that I just don't remember off the top of my head. That could be interesting. Again, I think if Tony Snell is just lighting the world on fire next season, you might be able to get a first for him. Even then, it might be a couple of seconds, but that could still be something for you. Of course, Derrick Rose, same thing. Although even then, if D Rose is good next season, I really would not fault the Pistons for keeping him, assuming it wouldn't cost them much. But I don't know, maybe you could get the 17th pick in the draft for him or something, or low 20s on some good team that's desperate to get better. You never really know with this stuff. But to get back to the draft, you have to draft well at the end of the day, regardless of how many picks you actually get. And if we look at the Pistons draft history, I mean, it's not great. Doumbouya is interesting. Bruce Brown is, again, interesting. Kennard seems okay. Their 2016 draft was a wash. 2015 was a wash. 2014, they drafted Dinwiddie and then gave up on him. 2013 was KCP with the 8th pick. There's just not a lot of home runs here. Or really, there's none at all. I mean, maybe Doumbouya and Kennard are long-term pieces, but even then, I'm not 100% sure on that. So they just simply have to be better, and whether that means a GM shakeup or something else, I don't know. I mean, again, this team is just flipping the switch, and they're saying hopefully they're flipping the switch, and they're going to just go on a rebuild, and maybe that means you need different people to do that, but of course the owner has to commit to it, and for a long time this team has been all about just treading water, and if we win 44 games and lose in round 1, we'll take it. So it'll be interesting to see the route they go. And there is still some risk because the Pistons they've had a tough time getting people to come to the games ever since they traded Chauncey Billups. Or I guess a couple years, because there was still a little bit of mid-2000s Pistons holdover, even when the team was bad. So for whatever that's worth, but that is something to care about. I mean, this team has been towards the bottom in attendance for a long time, and the fear is that they bottom out and they legitimately don't have anybody coming to the games. And that's, of course, important when it comes to being an owner of a team. So we'll see how all that plays out. Of course, if this team is really fun next season or so and is a little ahead of schedule and is fighting for the postseason, but they're also very likable, then there you go. You might be accomplishing a few things at once there. We'll see what happens. It's all about nailing all the stuff that good front offices nail. Also, should Dwayne Casey be the coach of this team? Because I feel like Dwayne Casey is a coach you hire to keep a team that's not that great potentially as good as they can be, which is basically what they tried to do. But maybe you would also just keep him to have him around, because while I don't consider Dwayne Casey to be one of the best coaches in the league, I don't consider him one of the worst ones either. And if you can just have that guy around for a long time and just build continuity with players, even if the team is not that good, but at least building something, then okay, that's not the worst idea in the world. So that's it. Christian Wood, that's the heart of this whole thing to me.